morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, well, we've kind of got a new Tag Team GX to talk about. Now, to be fair, we do have a new Tag Team GX to talk about. The problem is the image I've got, which came from the lovely PokeGuardian.com, love that dude, Primal Lugia on Twitter, is we got an image of the promotional box with the jumbo version and the packs and the little version. And although we have a clear, unobstructed view of the card, we have a very small, clear, unobstructed view of the card. We know what the basics are. I feel fairly confident about the main attack. I have an idea for the GX attack. Please bear in mind, and I'm saying this right off the bat here, when this card is fully revealed, I will probably do a second video with confirmation of what it actually does. So, with all that borne in mind, it's got 270 HP, which honestly is fairly standard for Tag Team GXs nowadays. We see this on stuff like Reshiram and Charizard. It is a psychic type that is weak to darkness, and this is awesome, because it means you're hitting weakness against Mewtwo and Mew, but you're not being hit for weakness by Mewtwo and Mew. And honestly, Darkness decks are just not that great at the moment. We did see that Dark Box deck with Mega Sableye, Tyranitar, and Umbreon and Darkrai saw a bit of play at Worlds. It was represented a little bit at Worlds, but it was far from a powerhouse deck. You need to watch out for that one, but otherwise you're good. You have a retreat cost of 3, which is the annoying retreat cost at the moment, because it means you don't get buff padding and you can't search it out with Pokemaniac. But we do really like the fact that you're a psychic Pokemon. In a format where it's really difficult to search out Pokemon, you can use Mysterious Treasure, which is lovely. Although one of the downsides of not being weak to Psychic is you actually cannot use Jirachi GX to take away your weakness, because Jirachi doesn't get rid of Psychic Pokemon's weakness, it gets rid of any Pokemon's weakness to Psychic. Yeah, it's kind of confusing, but it's all there, ladies and gentlemen. But you can also use Spell Tag to do a little bit of extra damage, and in a format without Field Blower, that's pretty gosh darn good. So we're kind of liking the basics here. It's going all right. But what does it actually do? Well, the first attack, and again, I've spoken to the lovely Primal Lugia, I've spoken to Joe from Cerebi.net, and we know it's a free Psychic Energy. We know that it does 150 damage, and we believe that it reads, choose 2 random cards from your opponent's hand, your opponent reveals them and shuffle them into their deck. So basically, you've got 150 damage combined with hand disruption. I adore this. Now, once again, 150 damage is a little bit less than we would like. You're not even getting a one-hit KO on something like Dedenne GX, and we don't have Choice Band anymore to deal with stuff like that. It's a pain. If you're hitting for weakness, it's great. You know, Mewtwo and Mew will go down very easily in one hit to this. Yes, I know that Jirachi takes away the weakness, but I also know that Power Plant takes away the ability, and you drop it on your turn, Jirachi goes off, you attack, and there's nothing your opponent can do about it. So, yeah, you really don't have to worry about Jirachi too much if you're willing to play Power Plant. And of course, and annoyingly, Jirachi's also got 160, otherwise you could KO it without weakness, boo, hiss, etc. But the extra damage here can really be done with Spell Tag. And Spell Tag is great in decks like this, because you can drop 1 damage counter on a Dedenne and 1 on a Jirachi. When it's attached to a Psychic Pokemon and that Pokemon gets KO'd, you get to drop 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like. Weirdly, there is actually a Dusknoir coming out in Cosmic Eclipse, whose ability is literally Spell Tag, for what that's worth. But anyway, the point here is that that's how you get the extra damage. Drop 3 on a Blacephalon and all of a sudden you've got a one-hit KO. It's going to help you hit the numbers in a way that you would otherwise be struggling to do. And by the same token, against your average Tag Team GX, something like a Reshiram and Charizard or a Pikachu and Zekrom, you've got a fairly straightforward, fairly easy one-hit KO brewing. It's alright. Again, it's not huge damage, but it's fine. I mean, being a psychic deck, we should also probably mention the Giratina from Lost Thunder. When it's in the discard, you can put it onto your bench from the discard, dropping 1 damage counter on each of 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. I mean, that's going to be helpful, ladies and gentlemen, especially if your opponent's playing something like Dedenne or Jirachi, when you can bring all of them into range. And in terms of the energy here, we really don't have to worry. We got Malamar. That's the other great thing about being a psychic Pokemon nowadays. Use Malamar to accelerate the energy and you're off and rolling. When Toxapex GX was released, and we looked at it and it was free psychic energy, we looked at it and went, and I did, you can check my reveal video if you like. I'll try and remember to link it in the description. And I went, well, there's no way to accelerate psychic energy, so this just isn't good enough. But now we got Malamar, we look at something like Dusknoir and Trevenant, and we go, oh, cool. Trevenant and Dusknoir actually is. And we're really not worried at all about that. The energy's fine. Although, to be fair, Malamar decks did disappoint at the World Championships. But damage aside, you get to get your opponent to shuffle 2 random cards from their hand into their deck. And this could be ridiculous. Because let's not forget that this is going to be coming out in the same format as a Reset Stamp. And Reset Stamp makes your opponent shuffle their hand into their deck, draw a number of cards equal to their remaining prizes. And let's not forget that Jesse and James from Hidden Fates is banned and expanded, but it is not banned in Standard. Yeah. And that means that Jesse and James, when you play it, your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand of their choice. But let's say, for argument's sake, you drop a Reset Stamp, and that does not interact with your hand, so it doesn't make it harder to draw Jesse and James. You then drop a Jesse and James. Let's say they've got 4 prizes remaining. Reset Stamp puts them down to 4 cards. Jesse and James puts them down to 2 cards. And then all of a sudden, this puts them down to a 0-card hand. This is a great, great way to disrupt your opponent's hand. No, it's not as good as Honchkro's GX attack. Honchkro's GX attack lets you choose 2 cards from your opponent's hand and get rid of them. Clearly, that's way better. And it's discarding rather than shuffling them into their deck. Clearly, that's way better. But it's also a GX attack, and it also doesn't do any damage. So, yeah, it's also a single energy attack with triple acceleration energy. But again, I'm really, really digging this attack here. I think this is a really, really strong attack. I think in the early game, the damage is underwhelming. But as you get towards the late game, if you can combine this with stuff like Jesse and James and Reset Stamp, you can really leave your opponent in top deck mode. You cannot combine this with Chip Chip Ice Axe, because remember, you are shuffling your opponent's cards into their deck, so anything you got from Chip Chip Ice Axe would be wasted. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on the GX attack, because I am not sure. I've got a better, for some reason, zooming in on my phone is better. Here's what I've got from zooming in on my phone. Now, we know that it's 1 psychic, 1 colorless energy. My best guess is this. At the end of your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon is KO'd. If you have at least 1 extra psychic energy attached to this Pokemon, in addition to the attack cost, discard all energy from the defending Pokemon. I am not confident about this. I spent a good 10 minutes staring at it, zooming in, changing the size, looking at it on my computer and on my phone and all of that. That is the best I got. I am not confident in that being a GX attack, but it is the best I can do. I am confident that it is 1 extra psychic energy. I can make that out quite clearly. Outside of that, I am not confident. So let's assume that's what it does and have a quick discussion. When we got a clearer view, I'll bring you a video with a little bit more certainty. The defending Pokemon being knocked out at the end of your opponent's turn, I mean, it's not ideal, because it gives your opponent a turn to get around it. Now, the good news is we no longer have Ace Roller, although they would need to be damaged to use it. And we no longer have Guzma, but there's still plenty of decks playing Switch. And you can still retreat. And there's still decks playing Super Scoop Up. So it's not perfect. If you can catch your opponent stuck in the active and they can't get out of the active, it's phenomenal. But we saw a very similar attack on Absol, and it didn't work. We saw it was Doom News. It was on the Absol from Guardians Rising. And it didn't work. It was just not good enough. You put all energy attached to this Pokemon into your hand. At the end of your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon will be knocked out. Not to mention that this is a GX attack. So if you have an opponent who gets out the active, you don't get any benefit from the GX attack. I like the fact that if you have extra energy on, you discard all the energy. But you're talking a tag team GX for free energy, discarding all the energy attached to the defending Pokemon. Articuno can do that for a single energy as a basic GX, giving up 2 prizes not free. And for that reason, I'm not terribly impressed. If this is what the GX attack does, and I am not confident, I'm underwhelmed. Yes, anytime you can trap them in the active and they get KO'd is fine, but if they do get KO'd, getting rid of the energy is irrelevant, and if they don't get KO'd, you've used free energy on your GX attack to get rid of their energy. Just use Articuno instead. But again, I am not clear about that. I do like that it's a psychic Pokemon. That's a great typing to be right now, and I am confident about what the first attack does, and I do like the first attack. The first attack is really, really good, especially in the late game with stuff like Reset Stamp. I'm not giving this Pokemon a score at the moment because I don't think we have a clear enough translation, but I will give you a score when we look at him again when we got a clearer image. But judging by the amount of people who got in touch with me going, Wossy, have you seen? You guys wanted me to do the video now and not wait until I was 100% certain. But I'd like to know what you think about this, and if you've got a better look at the GX attack and you know what it does, or you think you got a better idea than me, let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.